Everybody. The Competitive Cribbage Podcast here. Jason Matheny from the Mothership in Houston, joined by greatness. Yeah, Terry Cushman, you are great, but we have Mr. 4000 joining us here. Thankful enough that happy enough that he was nice to give us some time. So Brian Gurdon joins us. Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show this week. What a season, man. Like unreal. You got to be just still like floating on air.
Yeah, it's been quite the ride. It's had its emotional ups and downs, but it got stressful at the end to get there. But I was fortunate enough to get there right on the number.
Yeah, it's. Did you just like when you hit for it? Because there were a couple other events after you just like 4,000's good. I'll just stop there. Like is that or like I don't know. Did you just want to set it as high as you wanted? Like at some point, right? I assume the goal started with 3130 and Dwayne Toll. And then
actually, the goal started with just one more point than the guy in second. That was my ultimate goal to start the season. But then the points started to accumulate even quicker than I expected. And Dwayne's record quickly came into view, 3,000, then Dwayne's record of 3121. And I never had 4,000 in my sight. After his record, my 2-star was the next sight, which is 150 some ahead of the record. But then 4,000 became a real reality, and people were wanting me to get there. And it looked like I was going to cruise by that number. And July was the worst month of cribbage I have had in a very long time.
Do you think fatigue was a thing or no?
Yeah, fatigue came into it. Not fatigue, but burnout. Like I say, going into July, I only planned on playing 6 tournaments. I took 2 weeks off before the National Open. I knew I was going to hit 80 tournaments exactly, unless I did really well in the National Open, which was unrealistic. What a chance. And so I ended up playing 80 exactly. But as July unfolded, like the National Open, my cards were horrendously bad. And I started pressing. I started making plays I don't normally make. I started pairing in bad spots. So it was a combination of bad cards by bad play. And oddly enough, in the NOCT, I missed in every points tournament and crushed every satellite I played. So I think a lot of it was me pressing too hard there. And when I didn't get a single point in North Carolina, which is the only state I played in this year and didn't get a point, the pressure got to me through no fault of anybody else but myself. And I went to Washington, and it went pretty bad. First day, I bombed the main and the Constellation. Main, I missed by 1 game, what you would normally think. I had a 25. It took 29 that day. But then the next day, the main, I lost the first 6. And I was pretty...
that at all? Did you change anything? Did you talk to Dwayne or Eric or anybody else about how to kind of handle the mental swings of it?
My biggest mentor when it comes to the mental part of the game is Dwayne Toll. He's constantly in my ear about the way you handle yourself, the way you win and you lose. And him and Jeannie Hoffbauer were the reason that I was able to turn my mental game around many years ago now. But as a lot of people know, I was not a very good loser when I first joined the ACC. I was, for a better lack of terms, I was an asshole. And I thought it was everybody's fault but my own. But then in the same weekend, I got some great advice from Jeannie Hoffbauer and Dwayne Toll, and it's been documented in the cribbage world. But yeah, Beach, 2 in Fort Walton, and both of those tournaments where I came east, I had options to stay west, but I was determined to play around the country. I wanted to get east more, but it was not very cost effective to get up to the northeast, where I really have never played and want to. but it's just it cost a lot of money to get up there and stay up there. So I played 7 in the East and I played 11 in the Central.
So of the regions, but give us your scouting report. Like it's the reputations. We all have experiences. We all play in certain places. What do you think is the toughest region? What do you give me the high and the low of all of it? You think?
I do believe the West has the top is the best in the top, but when it comes from top,
So do
I
I.
actually did beat him once in North Carolina, but I have a very tough time with him. And but I don't have a lot of experience with the East unless they were coming west, which they don't do as much as they used to. They used to come out for, Reno. As you guys have mentioned, the West doesn't travel east very well, and the East doesn't come west as much as they once did. I do find the Central coming west quite a bit. Not a lot of them, but quite a few of them. Like I can't go to a tournament out here without seeing Jim Mahan. Grand National in Reno, it would just happen. Players that were in it, and there was very few spectators. Other than myself, I would go up every Thursday in Reno, and I'd watch Dwayne Toll play for 16 games instead of being out doing whatever, playing in the casino or going to dinner or being with friends. I'd be up there watching him play, and that's I can't begin to tell you how many games of cribbage or partial games of cribbage I've watched him play.
Do you think that was the biggest shift in your game over the years? It's just from watching games, talking to Dwayne, talking to, whomever. Like, what do you think? I assume I didn't know you when you first started playing, right? But I assume you were a pretty good player out of the box. But what do you think kind of shot you to the level where you are now?
I thought I was a pretty good player out of the box. I was not. I'd love to have video of what I was doing in the first 5 years I played. But I didn't play a lot. I joined in 2002, and I didn't play a lot until 2008. And the only reason I played in those 2 years, 2008 and 2009, is I had quit my job, and I was only working sporadically. But this is only the second season I've ever been over 1,000 points.
I don't know. Like talk to me about how it kind of came about. That when you hit retirement, was it always kind of part of the plan? Something you thought about? Tell us about all of it. Like any nuggets you want to give. Tell us about it.
Believe it or not, this plan started 8 years ago. In 2018, we got a letter from the bank that our mortgage had been sold. And I knew that back in the day, the wife had got us in a bad mortgage, but I had pretty much ignored it with things that were going on. And I decided when they got this mortgage and I realized just how bad it was, we went and refinanced the house. We basically went and rebought our own house. And I set it up on a 15-year loan. And I told the wife I could pay it off in 9.5 years. And she says, well, when you pay it off, why don't you think about retiring? Because I have a lot of physical problems at work. I walk 20,000 steps a day at work is no problem. And it would kill my back and kill my feet. Anyways, so she said, if you can pay it off in 9.5 years, why don't you think about retiring? Well, I paid it off in one of 2 people that were going to be considered, even though I think the other guy would have got it no matter what. But I told my boss I was not going to put in for the job because I plan to retire in 1 year. 1 year from that day. He says, well, good luck, but I don't believe you. I said, well, I'll be coming to you April 1st of next year with my letter of resignation. And it turned out to be March 31st because my day off was the 1st. So that's when it really started to come to fruition, is on that day I told my boss I was going to retire in a year, and I did exactly that. 1 year later, I walked out. And I had 3 months to play before the new season started. I went and played a few tournaments I'd never played before. And then come August 1st, I just started piling tournaments in. Every chance I got. I mean, in September, I flew to Iowa. I'd never done that before.
I was at that tournament. We sat next to each other twice.
Yeah.
Both tournaments. We were right next to each other.
Yes, we were. If I remember correctly, we did not do very well.
I had 20 points at lunch and did not qualify.
Yeah. I knew it was something like that. It all runs kind of
Yeah,
pieced it in.
but there's a lot of details on there. But you know what I didn't see on there is the number of competitive cribbage podcasts that you listen to while on the road. So all of them, you know, did you listen to any of them 3 and 4 times in a row?
I listen to every one of them.
Okay.
Normally I do it on the way home from Grassroots on Tuesday nights. And then I'll turn it off. The next time I get in the car, I'll continue listening until I finish it. Sometimes I'm a week behind. Sometimes I listen that day. But I've listened to them all.
Do I get to ask you to repeat what you told me in Reno when I asked who you tended to agree with more in the hand segment of the game?
I definitely agree with Jason more.
All right, there you go. We got it written down.
And,
all right.
And I'm very aggressive too, just like Terry, if maybe not more, but I agree with Jason more.
I'm a grip it and rip it type guy. We all know.
So am I. I think Jason remembers a play in North Dakota, when I had the 5-6-9 10-10 jack. I was 8 holes out of position, and I just was not willing to leave myself 1 hole short. And I threw the 5-6, and I think he made 10 in the crib, ended up 9 out. I got lucky, still won that game. Like that. That's one thing I remember is I think John Hazelit's a great player, but I personally think he played that last hand wrong in that game. He had 5, 8, 9, 10 and bricked the cut. And I think that's a spot, one spot where you have to lead the 5. There's just so many ways to peg with that hand.
I get to you. Let's see. One comes from Voldemort himself. Hey guys, great job getting Brian on the show. Brian Conrad's an amazing season that I don't think will be duplicated in a very long time. I have a couple of questions. One, which we kind of just covered now. What is your basic theory of playing the game? Is it strict adherence to Delin's 26 theory or a type of hybrid approach? Second question, what do you think are the 2 or 3 most important aspects of being a successful cribbage player?
Well, I tend to play my position first. I don't worry about the opponent's position. If I need to get in position, I'm going to take chances. And one thing that Rob and I talked about a little in North Carolina is people don't play the game backwards enough. And what I mean by that is say about the opponent's position as much, you have to get home. But you have to also be able to look back, if that makes sense. I'm not the greatest at explaining how I play the game. A lot of the stuff in my head I don't articulate it well, but and I have a very short memory. What was his second question?
It was just pieces of advice. 2 or 3 most important aspects of being a successful cribbage player.
Listening. Listening to your opponent is enormous. They give away little tiny bits of information. Some of them give away huge information, you know. Oh, I can't believe I got this. Oh, you win. But they will give away so much information just talking. And that is the biggest aspect of my game, is reading people. Which oddly enough, I'm not very good at in poker. But in cribbage, I can pick apart little pieces of information that you're willing to give me. And that's probably the most important. Obviously, hand selection is important, but we all know that. It's that's the biggest, is just listening.
When you beat me that one game in Fort Walton, you know, we were if you don't remember, we were towards the very end. I think I was like 6 or 7 out, and I led the wrong card. And I don't know if it was after that card or after my next play. You're just quietly analyzing stuff, and you're like, I could see a bunch of ways where you're not out right now. And in my head, I'm like, he's absolutely right. And I didn't get out.
Yeah, I don't remember all the details of the hand. Matter of fact, I don't think we even agreed on it afterwards when you were talking about it.
No,
just
I
what
screwed
was
up.
led and,
I screwed up. Yeah.
But yeah, you could have won the game. But I just kind of tried to figure it out. I know it involved aces and fours and something else, but
Yeah, I had ace 2 3 king, and I normally I'd lead the king there.
half the people said one way and half said the other. But had I gone the other way, I would have got to quad as 4 on 4th Street and would have won the game in the match. So that one's memorable. Simply, maybe I played the hand right, but in that spot I chose wrong because it took my opportunity for the big peg away. And the other one was a consolation final against Dwayne Toll in Newport. It came down. He had won one. I'd won one. It was game 3, and I don't remember the exact situation. I never do, unless I take pictures. But I needed to peg, and I had double 5, double ace, and I led him the 5. And the next card I played the 5, and almost every player out there, I'm going to get these aces in at the end. And he thought, and he thought, and he thought, and he just analyzed what hands I could possibly have, what I was up to leading him the 5 in this spot. Because he knows I'm not going to lead him a 5 from a 5 and 3 jacks or 2 5s and 2 face cards there. I'm just not going to be that obvious against the greatest of all time. And when I played the second 5, he dumped an ace. And I had obviously no choice but to pair him. But had he played any other card, I'm going to get his ace and I'm going to win the match and I'm going to win the tournament. But he sniffed it out, and it was very memorable because it led back to a hand 20 years ago that I watched him play in the Final Four of the TOC. And this is, this hand, he had in this Final Four of the TOC, he had ace, ace, 7, 8. And he had led the 8, and his opponent played a face card, and his opponent played a 5 and made it 23. So he's got 7 ace, ace left. I think most players out there are probably going to play their 7 and go 31 for 2. But he thought about it, and he played his ace. His opponent dumped a 5, and he played his other ace, and he got to go. And his opponent then had to play a card. He played a card, and he got to go. And he outpegged him 2-0 instead of 2-1.
Shaking like a leaf the whole
that
match.
TOC match?
Yeah, the TOC match.
Where I paired your 5?
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Brian and I played in this one, and I think before the match, he comes up to me and he goes, "You're going to win." Because I guess you had enjoyed a couple of beverages that day or this or that. But we had a nice little match. Yeah, never. But that's one of those I win and I still shake my head at it because I don't think I deserve to win. I'm not proud of how I played it.
Oh, I think you deserve to win.
I'm not happy with how I played it. We'll leave it at that. So, all right,
Well,
a couple others.
All I remember is you led a 5 and I paired you and you had the other one. Which you guys conveniently gave my secret away on this show many times that I like to pair 5. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? We're journalists here. We give the facts out only. All right. So a couple quick hitters, and then we'll get to the fantasy draft here.
Can I mention one other thing real quick?
Yes, please.
You had asked me earlier about my preparation for this season. Mm-hmm. And I have been known to partake in a few alcoholic beverages along the way, usually after events, but sometimes during. That was one thing I did this season that I made a conscious effort not to do. I drank very little this season, before, after, or during events. And I think it had a huge difference in my mental preparedness. But there were a few events where I did drink, like North Carolina. Season was over. I wasn't chasing anything but 4,000. So I had a few, but that was a big part of the preparation for this season.
Okay. So speaking of which, any advice if anybody wants to try to do this type of thing, do a big year, run the tour, 80 events, like what would you advise anybody besides find a good therapist or something like that? Like what would you suggest if somebody was like, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to make a run at 4,000."
Have a good travel partner that you get along with. because Ray and I get along great, and very seldom do we have any issues on the road of not getting along, not agreeing where.
Like paying the house off and this and that. Once that was going down, did you say, "Hey, there's this thing I want to do, and by the way, it's gonna mean I'm away from the house for half the year"?
Yeah, we talked about it 8 years ago when this all started, when that was the plan. Now I retired 3 years sooner than she expected, but obviously we've put ourselves in a spot to be able to do that. And like if she was retired, this wouldn't have been possible because she'd have been home alone too much, but she's still working full time by choice. And so that ate up a lot of time. But I promised her that this was a 1 year deal, that where I would be gone just about every weekend, which I almost was. I played 80 tournaments, and I think I could have easily played 94. Missed 2 in Washington because the plane didn't get off the ground early in the season. Terry was at that tournament.
I did. Yeah, you weren't there.
Yeah. But like right now, there's 6 tournaments going on in Sacramento, and I'm not there. Just had no desire whatsoever to go. And it's one of my cheaper tournaments because I have a place to stay for free. And it's not that far from here. It's about an 8-hour drive or an hour flight. But I just wanted to spend time at home with my wife. I've got some things to do, and I am going to go to Atlanta in a couple weeks because I've never played there. It's a new state to play in. And I'm going to play some in the first 5 months of the season. Come January, all bets are off. So
I was about to say, burnout's got to be a real thing. Like I remember kind of Jeremy Krieger kind of, when he did his kind of big year, that, burnout's real. Like, is there anything you did
in his car?
Yeah. That's a great, it's one of those, I want to have like a long conversation with Jeremy at some point. Like, I don't know Jeremy well, and I want to know him better. So I don't think you would have made it that many days sleeping in your car. But.
No, I would not have.
So when you're on the road, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't ask about this. Like lots of meals, what's like the theme? What's the Ray and Brian theme? Like what type of restaurants and food are you targeting?
Well, one thing I wish I had done and wish I had tracked it from the beginning of the season, but everywhere we went, we would look up the best chicken wings in town.
Okay.
And we would try to
that's my speed.
Yeah, we would try to go have the best chicken wings we could find. Sometimes
I would always say, if you're car driving, you don't go to the left side of the road. You exit off and you have to stop at a place on the right side of the road. Although he takes some things perhaps to the extreme. Any superstitions while y'all were on the road, or anything that you just do in tournament play?
Well, one thing I never used to do is I never would accept a $50 bill when I was playing. I'd always change it out with somebody, but it never went in my pocket, and it most definitely never went in my car when I was driving. My dad taught me young that true gamblers don't use 50s. They're bad luck. And I did that for years, and people just were always laughing at me and stuff. And so I decided this season I was going to switch it up. I collected every single one that I got paid with. I have them in a safe, and I'm going to take my wife on a trip to the Caribbean, probably the Grand Caymans, but I haven't decided for sure yet. So that was one superstition that I got rid of this year. But I'm a creature of habit. Let's say I'm running good in the morning and I use the restroom, and I'm still running good and I have to use the restroom again. I'm going back to the same urinal. Stuff like that. Every time.
That's a Cushman move if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, get you the tinfoil hat. Probably looks better with your head shape. Okay.
All right. Hang on. Are you the same way with parking spots? Because that's something that I mess with. I'm like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
We went to Billings this year, and I parked in the far corner of the parking lot, and both Ray and I went in that day and had a terrible day. And I went back the next day. I says, well, it can't be the spot. I parked there again, and both had terrible days again, and I never park there again the rest of the weekend. And I made a point of telling Ray, if you take my card, don't put it back in that spot. So yeah, I'm pretty superstitious. There's a lot of things, but a lot of it's made up on the spot, just out of pure
You gotta
remembering
blame it
what
on
worked, what
something.
didn't. Yeah, exactly.
See now, Terry, the next time you see Brian's name across from yours in the bracket, you just try to like hunker down at a certain urinal or a certain parking spot and lock him out of it.
Put
You
put
know.
an out of order sign on it or something.
Yeah, just anything to kind of tilt him and get under your skin.
You want to hear the craziest one?
Hit me.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely, I do.
I will not go use the restroom in a main tournament until I've lost a game. Doesn't matter how bad I have to go. If I'm winning, I don't go until I've lost a game. Sometimes if you're running hot, it can get uncomfortable. But, you know, like most people, we lose one of the first 5 somewhere.
Good to know. All right. Yeah, it's hopefully
crazy.
you don't go on some like 20 game run at some point. And I guess there's usually a lunch break in between there. So, you know.
So if you ever wet yourself, I'm going to assume you've won like 11 straight or something.
Never gotten to that point.
Thank goodness. All right. I mean, you wouldn't be the only cribbage player to only have that happen. So, you know, but that's just a cribbage slayer thing. So, all right. Well, we'll jump to the fantasy draft here, and Brian will join us in this one. And one thing that I learned about Brian, and I think I learned through a conversation that we had in like the Phoenix area, is that Brian is a big wrestling guy, a WWE guy. And so we thought we'd do favorite wrestlers here. I know Terry wanted to do like favorite matches or this or that, but I don't know if I have the knowledge for that stuff. I've been a casual fan over the years. So Brian, as the guest here, because Terry and I, of course, have the nickel of destiny here and flip for ours, but you can have slot 1, 2, or 3 as the guest. You can choose your location, if you will. And it's a snake draft, so if you're at the end, you get the first pick of the second round, et cetera, et cetera. So which slot would you like, sir?
Well, there's one I have to have, so I'm going to go first, and I think either one of you could take this one, so I'm going to go first.
All right, Terry, I'm going to flip the nickel of destiny here.
Heads.
How would you like to call it? Heads? Oh, change it up. It is in fact a heads, so you can have slot 2 or 3.
I'll go second because I have to have mine. I hope Gurdon don't take it on me, but
all right. Well, Brian, champ, Mr. 4000, lead it off.
I'm going to go with the most obvious one, the most electric wrestler of all time, and that's The Rock. He was just the way he controlled a crowd and the way he controlled a microphone. He's just my favorite wrestler of all time. Even when he comes back now and the pop hits, it's still fun to watch, even though he's become a corporate stooge. But he's my favorite by far.
You definitely sniped me on that one. That would have been my selection for sure. I always liked The Rock best as a bad guy. He was great in every capacity, but when he was a bad guy, I thought he was absolutely entertaining, and just his interactions with the crowd were A+. So yeah, well done on that selection.
all right. Well, I didn't get sniped. I have to go with my childhood hero, Bret the Hitman Hart. I've said at least once on the podcast, I got grounded so many times, putting my brothers in the sharpshooter. Bret's finishing move. And, when he beat Ric Flair to win his first world title in 1992, even as a 9-year-old at the time, I knew that it was different because he wasn't this big jack guy like Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior or all those guys from the 80s. He was the first kind of smaller, heavyweight champ. And I just thought it was so cool. I kind of identified, being a small kid, I kind of identified with him and some of the greatest matches of all time. A lot of people think his match with Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13 was his greatest match of all time. And it's definitely one of them. But his match against the British Bulldog, SummerSlam 1992, even though he lost it, it's my favorite match of all time. Wembley Stadium. So I don't know. Bret's my favorite.
Good pick.
You guys are both killing me. Yeah, because you've sniped my first two selections here. And as somebody that doesn't have a deep catalog here, I'm going to have to struggle here. But yeah, fantastic selection. Bret Hart, also really known as just a really good technical wrestler. It wouldn't like hurt people. And I think that's an
True.
underappreciated element of like wrestling. All right. Well, I have to try to go with two here, and I'm not thrilled about any of these. All right. I'll take. All right, I guess I have to take Stone Cold Steve Austin as my first pick. The different place that so. All right, well, I'm going to take for my next pick a known cribbage player and kind of an old school guy, and that's going to be Andre the Giant.
Yes.
Just one of the greats of all time. Just a fun actor too, right? Had a kind of a interesting post wrestling career, like Princess Bride, amongst other things, but just known as like a pretty good guy. And the stories about Andre the Giant, kind of after the fact, told posthumously, was great. But how can I not take the one that was a cribbage player? So yeah, I'll take Andre the Giant as
and a legendary beer drinker.
Yes, the stories of him. You see him holding a can of beer, which this is in fact water, but it looked like a thimble in his hand. It was insane. So what a specimen of a human being. All right, Terry, back to you.
All right, I'm gonna strategically take a different guy and save my next one for third. I really like the Macho Man Randy Savage. Another guy that just had an electric personality. Maybe questionable in his personal life. I don't know, but that run through WrestleMania 4 when he won the tournament to be the undisputed champ was really cool. The Ultimate Warrior only had two good matches his whole career. They were both with Randy Savage. WrestleMania 7, SummerSlam 92, which my second reference to that. I think that's the GOAT SummerSlam. But yeah, and then WrestleMania 8 was really cool with Ric Flair. It's just hard to tell the story of the 80s and 90s without Randy Savage. So, and he could be a babyface or a heel and be amazing at both.
Okay. I think that's a solid pick, and clearly an insane human being, but like incredibly talented too.
I don't remember.
Some of the
Sorry, I don't know how you remember all these matches, when and where. I can't do that.
I love it.
Same. I do not like follow these quite as much. So, all right, Brian, you got two in a row here.
All right, I'm going to kind of cheat a little and take two at once with a tag team. But the days of the APA were just legendary. I love this tag team so much. They were just so comedic for one, and it was just fun to watch them work off of each other, work with each other, and just one of my favorites.
That's Farouk and Bradshaw, right?
Yeah, it's Bradshaw, JBL, and Ron Simmons.
Right.
Ron Simmons, one of the more underappreciated wrestlers maybe of all time. Just a beast, and an amazing football player, and yeah, just personality and the moves and all the things. And yeah, I think he kind of low key made that team. So I will say I'm team Farouk or team Ron Simmons on that one. So
first black heavyweight champion of all time too, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. That's correct. All right, back to you, Terry.
Okay, I'm glad I didn't get sniped on this one. As a kid, I didn't love him as much as I probably should have. As an adult, I laugh my ass off every time he cuts a promo, and that's Roddy Piper. The GOAT Royal Rumble to me, and this is a popular pick, is 1992. Flair won it, and the winner of it became the undisputed heavyweight champion.
Ric Flair, the two guys that had like the kind of like sayings that you would break out, right? That's just memorable, but yeah, excellent pick on that one. All right. For my last two picks here. All right, I'll take Mick Foley as my third pick. Just, unbelievable, like Daredevil, just the stuff that he did changed the game, and just a fantastic wrestler in itself. Seemingly an actual good human being in a sport that is full of people that are not known for being great human beings. So I will take Mick. And then for my last pick, I'm going to cheat slightly. And I'm going to take, I guess he counts, but somebody who's actually the star of that Royal Rumble that you mentioned, Terry, and the person didn't even participate in the Royal Rumble, and I'm taking Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
an absolute brilliant manager, commentator, and if you go back and watch that pay-per-view, he absolutely was the star of that Royal Rumble just through how he kind of weaved the story of that match, in my opinion. So he was consistently hilarious. So I will take Bobby the Brain Heenan as my last pick.
I tweeted out not too long ago. I was talking about great broadcast duos, and as a baseball podcaster, we're talking about legitimate sports. And I mentioned Buck and McCarver, and Buck. Both of those guys are polarizing, but they're still a legendary duo. John Madden, Pat Summerall, and then in text and in a picture, I said Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. And I don't know. It wasn't like a viral tweet, but it got a lot of attention. I'm so torn on my last pick here. I'm gonna go with Eddie Guerrero. He was a great wrestler. He was a great promo. He was funny. His life ended tragically right before he was set to win his second world title, and it never happened because he passed away of an unforeseen heart attack. And so I'll round him out on my list.
Okay.
All right, well, Jason,
Ryan, close up
you
shop.
definitely sniped me on Mick Foley. That was going to be my next pick. But I'm going to go more modern with my third pick. And I think this wrestler is just so electric, gets the crowd going. And that's Io Sky. She's just a fantastic wrestler in the ring. She can't do a great promo because of the lack of English, but she does what she can. And I just think she's one of the greatest in-ring technicians there is today. So she's my favorite going today. In my last pick, I'm going to take this wrestler for more of what he's done outside the ring after his career. And that's DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, for what he's done for so many wrestlers through his yoga program. He's got so many old time wrestlers back on their feet, back to having better lives. Lex Luger, Butterbean, not a wrestler, but pretty famous. There was one other I can't remember. But I just like what he's done post-career.
I agree, and it's a good message, and he's an interesting guy, and I always liked him, even when he was like a manager. I have this weird love for his awful theme music that was in WCW that was just this like horrific ripoff of Smells Like Teen Spirit, right. And it just makes me still giggle. I think that's a fantastic selection. In fact, it gave me a memory, and one that I meant to pick. Maybe my single favorite wrestler of all time is DDP once dressed up as La Parka, who's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and like tricked the NWO or something like that. I have just this distinct memory of that one. So well done on those. Any others receiving votes anybody wants to throw out before we jump to the mailbag and hands here?
Just throw out Goldust and R-Truth just for their comedic ability. And Goldust wasn't a great wrestler, but God, was he funny. And R-Truth is just silly funny, but I love to watch him.
Side split.
Yeah, it's
him breaking out the ladder during the Royal Rumble is pretty perfect. It's pretty perfect. Terry, anything from you? Any others you want to mention?
Of some of my favorites, Scott Hall, either as himself or Razor Ramon. One of the best shoot interviews you'll see, and if you like to watch those on YouTube, he's just so candid, so brutally honest about his faults, and and then the positive stuff. Rey Mysterio Jr., one of the more innovative guys of all time, going back to the 90s. Owen Hart, one of the most comedic bad guys, and then you hear in the shoot interviews of all the silly stuff he did. Another guy who was a heel that was hilarious that I liked was Kurt Angle. So those guys on my list, and I'm just kind of shocked that none of us took The Undertaker or Shawn Michaels.
Too easy.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on those. I'd also mention CM Punk, pretty excellent on the
Can't stand
microphone.
him.
Just
Can't stand him.
yeah, you love him or hate him.
Love his wife.
You love him or hate him.
Do you like Roman Reigns? A lot of people
Yes.
hate him. Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
Not a fan. Not a fan. So be it. Can't be perfect on everything, Brian. So, all right, let's hit the mailbag really quick here and then get to hands here. And we're going to do the hands a little different this time because Terry had an excellent idea here is that we're going to give our opinions and then Brian's going to tell us how wrong we are, which I think is a good way to do this. All right, mailbag really quick here. One comes via Sarah Sandy. Hey, Jason, I was thinking about your dislike of musicals and talking to Terry and told him I wanted to challenge you to a match. If I win, you have to watch Hamilton. If you win, you can choose something for me to watch instead. Man, that's some high stakes. I don't know if y'all, Brian, are you a musicals guy? I can't stand musicals, and that's some pressure for a cribbage match.
For the most part, no. But I remember when you were talking about this on the podcast, and it made me think of one musical that I thought was fantastic, and that was Sweeney Todd. You ever seen that one?
No, I know of it, but never saw it.
It's Johnny Depp, and it's about this meat pie factory where they're basically putting humans in the meat pies, and he just plays a great role in that. And that's one of my favorites. But for the most part, no, musicals are not my thing.
Oh, that's some high stakes. That's more than having a match to hit 4,000 points. If I think about having to watch Hamilton, I'm not one to turn down a challenge. So let me think about that one, Sarah. I'll get back to you on that. Let's see. One comes via Denise Fortin. Listening to the podcast, Terry says Gurdon and Klocko really quickly made me think of a great combo nickname, which would be Gurko. How do you feel about that one, Brian?
No.
Okay.
Hard no.
That's a hard no.
I don't even know how I do it the other way. Clock? No, we're not. Was there did anybody suggest any combo names for you all or any that,
no, not
duo
really.
kind of things?
I think that's another record that's probably going to stand for a long time too is MRPs totaled by a traveling duo. I think it's 6,500 and change. Ray had a phenomenal season as well. He played 4 less tournaments than I did. Some reason he decided to take his family to Hawaii. I don't know why. I kept playing cribbage.
Bad prioritization there, Ray.
I went to Illinois and Michigan that weekend, or those 2 weekends. So he played 4 less than I did, but he had the 12th best season ever as far as MRPs. I think there's only 11 seasons where more points were scored than that. So congratulations to him too. And I think he's leading the country right now. He went to Sacramento, won the last tournament of the year, qualified in the next one to get his 1 star. Actually, he might not be leading the country. I forgot that first tournament went to the last season, but I just want to congratulate him on a great season as well.
Yeah, underappreciated, fantastic, and maybe the for the most MRPs of a traveling duo, maybe one year I'll travel with Eric Locke and he'll have like 6,100 points and I'll have like 200. We'll be good to go. So I feel like that's my plan to beat that one.
He's married. It doesn't play as much anymore.
It's like the trivia question in baseball of like the brothers that have the most home runs, and it's the Aaron brothers. It's like, and his brother, I forget, Tommy Aaron or something like that, had like 2.
I think it was like 14 or something, but yeah.
Something, yeah. It's like a known trivia question. All right, and we got a couple other emails I'm gonna save till next week. We're gonna get to the hands here really quick. Brian, thanks again for joining us. This has been a lot of fun, and so hopefully this shows up on screen well with 3 of us here. There we go. All right, and I'm gonna move the screen just a little bit so that we can see it better. Terry, what is our agree versus disagree ratio as I get this just right? Uh-oh,
I got it.
Caught him unprepared just for the first time.
136 to 121.
136 to 121. All right. So we've got how many? Like 7 or 8 to go through here, and then one how you peg that. So we'll start off with one that I think is not overly difficult, but I still scribbled it down. So it is 0-0, your own crib, and the hand is 3-3-4-4-6-9. Terry, you want to start us off here?
I feel dirty for saying this, but I'm going to use the Matheny theorem.
Oh, let me refresh this, by the way, just to clarify. This
Oh,
is, in
crap.
fact, and I'm going to make sure I have it. Hold on. We're going to make sure we have this right. See,
Uh,
it took me 5 seconds to screw this up.
Okay.
Yeah, your own crib, your own crib. So let me clarify. You are, in fact, the dealer. And I didn't even fix it correctly. Your correction fees, 25 cents. Wow. This is a new little Easter egg that's thrown in here by David Hayes. Again, cribbage121.com. So I got to put a quarter in the bucket here to pay him off. I'm going to just hand him 100 and just tell him I'm buying it in bulk. So, okay. So is your own crib in this case 3-3-4-4-6-9. So does the Matheny theorem still take effect?
To my own crib, yes. I'll just, I mean, it's still 6 points overall anyway. Oh, actually, no, it would have been 8 if you threw the 4s, but still, nonetheless, I'll throw the 6-9 and keep the 3-3-4-4 and just try to smash it.
I do agree, and this is the Matheny theorem applies in this spot. You only get so many opportunities to break open the game, and when you get those opportunities, you need to take them. So I do agree. I think in this spot, you throw the 6-9. Now, Brian, the theorem, the Gurdon theory is you always need a skunk, as we've mentioned on this show before. Do you agree with this throw in this spot?
I'm a very strong proponent of keeping the most points, but in this spot, I agree with the Matheny theorem. This is just too big a draw to not try to blow the game open right from the start. And you got to throw the 6-9 in the crib and cut a 3. You live with it. But I'm going to throw the 6-9 in the crib as well.
Okay. And by the way, just because I had it open this way, if it were your opponent's crib, first out of the box, you guys both still, it is another kind of a brutal decision. I think I still throw the 6-9, but I'm not thrilled about it.
I throw the 4s, I think.
I throw the 4s as well.
Okay. All right. On to the next one. All right. This one comes via David Butte. And it is kind of a Hail Mary spot here. So you are first count in hole 101. Your opponent is dealing in hole 109. And the hand is 2-5-5-7-7-7. And I will clarify with this one that after you announce your hold, I'm curious the pegging element of this, which I did not include in how you peg that because I don't know, I think it depends on how you hold it. So what do you think here?
I hate this. I'm gonna hold 2 pair here. I mean, you only have one shot at 16 points. I mean, you could throw a 5 and keep 5 777. That keeps the ace and the 3 and play for 12. I don't know what good that really does. I don't really know how to peg. Well, yeah, pegging 4 points, I think would be hard as well, but I'm keeping 5-5-7-7.
Ultimately, I agree. Like you have to hold for the miracle in this spot. And even if I hit my miracle, I want fewer steps to completing the miracle. So I think 5-5-7-7. Like I'm not really interested in a consolation prize cut of an ace or a 3. Maybe if my opponent were a little further back, I might have some interest in that one, but in this particular spot, I think you got to go for it. So yeah, I think I'm throwing 7-2 and holding 5-5-7-7.
There's no other way to play the hand. You have to hold the 5-5-7-7, and even if you don't get a cut, the deuce 7's your best chance that they go 2-2.
Let's say you cut the 6, you have to lead the 5, don't you?
I don't. I lead the 7.
You lead the 7? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of leading 5s. It's just a good player is gonna sniff it out most of the time. If you're playing me, you should lead the 5 because I'm probably going to pair you. But yeah, I'm still going to lead the 7. You're going to lose this game 98% of the time, maybe more.
If they have all face cards, though, you'll win the game because you'll get your 2 7s in, and then you'll 15 them on the other side.
A really good player there isn't going to hold all face cards. If I get dealt a hand right there from 11 out and I'm the dealer and you're sitting, 21 out, I have no problem breaking up a run of face cards just to prevent a play like that. I could have 3, 4, Jack, Jack, Queen, King, and I'm going to put something like a 4 and one of the pair in the crib and keep 3 points. I have no problem breaking up an 8-point double run right there, knowing I have 3 counts.
Well, for the record, I do agree. I think the 5 lead is a spot here that David told me about this one, and his opponent had to hold 10 Jack Queen King. Well, they had an 8 deuce to throw with it, but they felt like they needed to hold the 4. I think this is part of this. It might be a little opponent dependent, right? Like I think the tip top players might play away from that, leave them some other cards. But it's something to be said for, right? You just kind of have dead spot in that. Last thing as dealer you want to do is end up short.
So in your theory of leading the 5, they go 15, you go 22, and they pair, you get the pair.
Well, they say go, then you pair your 7, and then they have to lead a face on the second half. Then you get the 15 and you're out.
There's nothing wrong with that. I just it's not in my playbook, I guess. I pretty much conceded this game, but I can see how your thought process would play out. I just don't see a really good player holding that 4 face cards right there. But it is
not
your
going to happen often. So
for sure, it's your only shot.
Agreed. All right, here's one via north of the border to Canadian Jordan. And this is a tricky spot. This is one of those you kind of have the 2 written down on your scorecard in advance, and then you look up at your hand in this one, and you see 2, 3, 7, 7, 9 Jack. You are 6 points out. You are in hole 115. Your opponent is dealing in hole 96. 2, 3, 7, 7, 9 Jack. What do you think, tinfoil Terry?
I'm throwing the 7s here. I've got a ton of cuts that could get me out or within a couple of points of going out. I like leading the 3 with the 9 backing it up. Should I get paired? And if they have a 16 crib or more to get them out, it's a loss that I can live with.
Okay, I opt a different route on this one. I like 9 Jack here. Just a lot of cuts that get me to 4 points or more, and I'll take my chances to get the pegs there. And it's a little less scary than the 7s in my hand. I try to think of almost the opposite of this, and that if I'm the one in hole 96, how would I want my opponent to hold their hand? Like if I want to win the game, probably the 7s. So that's one I would probably want to avoid. So Brian, who's right? Or is the answer?
Neither one of us.
Right? I love it. Love it. Go ahead. Set us straight, sir.
I'm going to throw the 7 Jack offsuit and hold the 2, 3, 7, 9. Everything up to the 8 gets me to 4 points or more. The 9 and the face card obviously only give me 2, but I think having the 2, 3, 7, 9 gives me an opportunity to get a couple sneaky pegs in there. You lead the 3, they pair you get the 15. And I just think it's too easy to get down to 118 or less here. And they're at 96. They need 25 and 2 hands for you not to deal real excellent the next hand. And in this hand, 7 Jack is the best defense there is.
Okay. All right. I like the theory. I think this is a close one. But I'm not gonna. It's hard to disagree with Mr. 4000. So, but all right. So here's one. So you are first count in hole 101. Your opponent is dealing in hole 67, and the hand is ace, 4, Jack, 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 King. So goal in mind here, right? The Gruden theorem, you always need a skunk. I feel like these are the spots where the A+ players are able to put themselves in a spot to maybe close it out. How's the best way to go about this, Terry?
I mean, I'm not afraid of anything here, obviously. I mean, that's a pretty massive lead. Do you want to get the skunk playing offense or do you want to get the skunk playing defense? I might actually lean with defense here and throw the ace king and keep the 4 triple jack. And I'd actually lead the 4 here because I don't think I'm going to get beat up too bad holding face cards. Face cards, as I've said multiple times, I'm okay leading away from that. But ace king for me to the crib.
I agree with the toss. Is there a cut where maybe you'd consider not leading the 4?
I don't think so in this case. I can
Okay.
just see a lot of bad things happening once I lead the jack.
Okay.
I agree with everything
thoughts?
Terry said. Everything.
All right.
And the
Okay.
reason for the 4 lead is it gives them 3 cards to peg with. You're like he says, you got a better chance of getting the skunk here with defense than you do offense. Even if you throw the ace 4 and cut the queen, tough hand to peg with. But you lead the 4, and you can't get hurt with those face cards too bad. It's one of the few times to lead away from the trips is when you've got a baby and 3 face cards. It's almost always the right play.
Agreed. Well said. All right, moving on here. By the way, something I just thought about. I want to ask you something that I took away from your game in a conversation we had many years ago in like the Loveland area. And I think there was one of those hands where I had a little card like 2, 6, 7, 8, right? And I led a middle card. And something that I got from you out of this conversation was most of the time, almost exclusively, you're leading from your little card, and you will live with the situation when you have to make a cut decision with the next card.
Correct.
Even if it's in an all defense spot.
Correct. And it's one of the big things I learned from Dwayne. Even today, some of your great players still lead from the middle of this hand, and it's just wrong, in my opinion. If you lead the 8 and they go to 15, so they get the 15, you get the little run, and if they're in the same range, they get the big run. If you lead the little card, they can't 15, so they have to play a card that gives you the opportunity to 15. So if they're in the same range, you get the 15, they get the little run, you get the big run. It's just the right lead. It's just.
Are there exceptions ever in like a hyper defense spot, or maybe you have a big lead? You can't, like if you can't afford to give up a trip, right? So like you lead the 2 and they play the 7 or something like that.
End game. But in the end game, I'm going to try not to hold those cards that are close together. But yeah, in the end game, you may want to lead. Like if you got ace 7, 8, you may want to lead the 7 just to have that ace to get away. But early on in the game, 2nd, 3rd street, I'm leading the little card every time, whether it's an ace, a deuce, a 3, a 4. I might hold 4, 7, 8, 9, 4, 7, 8, 9, throw the king, queen away. I'm leading the 4. And if they play any one of those cards, I'm pairing it. I'm prepared to take that risk. And if you're not prepared to take the risk, don't hold the hand. Hold 7, 8, 9 king and lead the king, or lead the 8 and run away. But you've got to be prepared to take the risk when you play the hand that way.
It's almost a very casino way that you look at it, right? In the long run, you will make the money on it. Not that, have you ever been in a casino before? I don't know.
And that's the thing. I'm a percentage player. I live with the bad beats when they come, but I know in the long run that play is going to win me a lot of games, whatever the play may be. I'm a definite percentage player.
Agreed. All right. So here's another one. So you are dealing in hole 77. Your opponent is in hole 65. And you have one of these weird hands where you have a 5-card run. So 4, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen is the actual one here. Couple different angles of how to go about this, Terry. What do you think?
This is a hand where I might mess around a little bit.
I could lead you into some trouble, sir. Like, don't make me pull out the tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw the jack queen here. I'm gonna keep the 4, 8, 9, 10. Throw 2 cards to the crib that, if they throw a king in there, for instance, I can easily have 3 to 8. I think I'm in pretty decent position here, and I think the 4 could be a good, even though I'm the dealer here, I think the 4 could be a nice deceptive setup card to maybe trap some middles or trap a jack with my 9-10 by dumping it in a certain spot. So I don't expect either of you to agree with me, but that's how I'm playing it. Jack queen to the crib.
I think if it were any other place on the board, I would be more tempted. But this is a spot where, your opponent's going to make their position by the next hand. And I feel like I'm handing away a point here, and I don't like it. So at least in this spot, I will opt for 4-8, even though Jack Queen is certainly a better crib toss than 8-4. But I'm going to opt to hold the 4 points. I don't want to live in the situation where I hit my one card that I've thrown and just kind of miss my opportunity at 10 points that essentially wins this game. This is a spot where it's kind of desperation offense as dealer, assuming that you don't destroy this cut. And I just like that route a little bit more.
I agree with Jason. You can't give up an extra point right here. You're in great shape. You only need to get to the 85, 86 hole, but you don't have a great hand to work with. And this is where I used to screw up really bad. Like when I said I wish I had a video of when I first started playing, I would throw the 8-9 off this hand all the time, trying to create something in the crib. And when I learned to not do that and hold that extra point, it made a world of difference in my hand. Because how many times have you thrown 8-9, cut a 9, and made 2? You hold 9-10 Jack Queen, cut the 9, you got 10. You've improved 6 points. So I'm holding the 9-10 Jack Queen here and putting the 4-8 in the crib.
I kind of, had I not tried to get too creative here, I would have liked Queen 4 a little bit better, honestly.
Yeah.
So Brian, tell us about that. Yeah, 4-8 versus Queen 4 there. Do you feel like it's a big difference? How do you see that element of it?
Well, this is where I stick to the percentages, and 4 Queen, I've got it right here in front of me, averages 3.59 to the crib, and 4-8 averages 3.83. So in the long run, the 4-8 is going to make you more points.
Interesting. I never look at those tables, but
I look at them all the time.
Do you feel like you have them closely memorized, or at least like
close.
within a tenth of a point or something?
I knew that 4-8 was better than 4 Queen, but I have to look it up to know exactly what it is. And it's significant. 3.83 to 3.59 is pretty significant in the long run.
Okay. All right, moving along here. All right, this one comes via Ravenscroft. James Ravenscroft sent this one. So you are dealing in hole 34. Your opponent is in hole 48. And so again, your own crib, ace, 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 3, 5, 8.
5-8 in a millisecond.
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't say in a millisecond. I think there is some value in ace, 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 8 here, and 3, 5 is a better hold in the crib than 5, 8. But all the face card cuts here, right? And you got a cut at 15, albeit not a great one. So I do agree, but I think it's a little closer.
This is our crib?
Yes, your own crib.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to give up that dozen draw with the 3 aces and the 3. I'd love to throw the 3-5 in there and keep that 8 in case they play a middle card and get the aces together. But the dozen draw and the 15 draw are just too much. So I'm going to throw the 5-8 in the crib.
Okay. All right. Terry, Brian is agreeing with this a lot more than I thought he would, and that makes me feel better about my game. So I appreciate you being here to kind of bring us some happiness here, Brian. All right, last one. This is how you peg that, and this one comes via Scott Early, kind of an end game spot. So you are first count 6 out in hole 115. Your opponent is dealing in hole 116, and you get dealt the lovely hand of 3, 4, 6, Jack, King, King. You throw the jack six, which I do agree with. We can argue about that in a different moment. And you cut a four. You now need to peg two. Terry Cushman, how you peg that?
I don't love anything about this.
No, it's terrible. It's awful, right? Like, I mean, it's a, we're not throwing easy ones out there, kids. So
I'm
just-
gonna lead the king. Best case here, maybe they drop an ace, and then I can score off of that. But I just don't. You can play a four. You can lead the four since one was cut, and then what are the chances they're going to have one of the other two kings to score off of? I guess they could play an eight. Some people might play that off of a four, but I'm just gonna lead the king and just kind of feel it out after that.
I hate it anytime I say this on this program, but yeah, I agree with you pretty much 100% here. That's how I would go about that, but I have not scored 4,000 points in a season. I've barely scored 4,000 points in my career. Brian, what would you do in a spot like this?
Lead the four. I'm gonna lead the four.
Tell us more.
There's only two cards they can peg immediately with, but even if they do pair me, I can make the count 18, which sets me up for the 31 for two with the three. There's always the chance they're going to play an 8. You get your 2 points there, and you can easily run away no matter what they do. You got to remember, they're at 116. They're trying to peg out. You lead the king here, and they play a 5. You're pretty well done. You pretty much have to play the next king. They hit you for 31 for 2. I mean, I think you got to play a little defense along with some offense here. I lead the 4. Hope they play an 8. If they pair me, then, like I say, I can step to 31. But let's say they play something like a 9. I'm going to dump the 3, make it 16. They're not going to want to.
Hope they run out the cards.
Yeah,
right?
They're not going to want to play a card near your 3. So a good player here is going to have held some different cards. Maybe they make the count above 22 at that point, and they got to burn out their cards, and you get your kings in on the end. So there is zero situation here where I'm ever leading the king.
Makes a lot of sense.
I'll disagree here just a little bit in that it is kind of a desperation spot as the dealer, and it's like there are spots where an opponent will pair a king there, right? Not a ton, but I think that changes it just a little bit for me. So like I'll stand my ground on 10 toes down on the king here.
Yeah.
Normally I'm a little more wishy-washy, but this one I think I like the king a little bit.
I don't like the king because if they play the deuce or the 3, you're forced to peg, and then you're just setting them up to take a run or pair you, and you just don't really have any good answers to stay away. They're only 5 out. So
yeah. Fair. I mean, it's a bad spot no matter what. There,
terrible
I think
spot.
we would all agree that's a horrible hand that you have to hold. Like almost a kind of a fortunate cut and an unfortunate cut at the same time. So appreciate Scott for passing along that misery. So, all right. Well, we have kind of come to the end here, Brian. I really appreciate you joining us again. What an amazing season!
Thank you.
I don't think anybody thought it was possible. I don't know if you thought 4,000 was possible.
Not at the beginning of the season. It was nowhere near in my sight. Beginning of the season, I wouldn't admit it, but yeah, Toll's record was in my head, but I didn't go around talking about it or anything until, we got into January, and I had a monster January. And at that point, everyone was talking about it. So I joined in, but yeah, I thought I was going to cruise past 4,000. So don't take anything for granted. It was quite thrilling to get there. And everyone seems to like the fact that it ended on 4,000 exactly. But one quick story to end the season. Ray and I left Washington, and we weren't sure if we were going to drive all the way through or if we were going to stop. We were going to make a decision at Twin Falls whether we retired. We got to Boise and then to Twin Falls, and we both felt pretty good. GPS had us getting home around 5 a.m. I'm always faster than the GPS. And we didn't stop. I wish I had. Coming south of Ely, about 400 miles from home, crushed a deer. So did about $4,500 in damage in the last drive home. Only cost me $100 with a deductible, but yeah, that was the one bad decision we made was not getting a room in Twin Falls.
Well, thank goodness you guys are okay.
Yeah, car was drivable. We still got one.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. If that's the bad beat that you had, the worst bad beat you had of the whole season, I'd say you did pretty well. So, all right. Well, thanks again for joining us. And thank you to everybody for listening, all the 29ers out there. Please send your hands, stories, any of the other stuff, cribbagepodcast@gmail.com. Last question before we sign off for you here, Brian. Can I get a commitment from you that you'll be joining the next competitive cribbage podcast long match? You dodged us in the last one.
Yes.
Can I get you locked in on this one?
There you go.
All right. He's in. All right. Well, 29ers, I see no other way that we can close up shop than with that one. Again, thank you to Brian for joining us. And thank you to everybody for listening. Everybody have a great week.